Work continued at the state capitol. This was the last week of the legislative session. I talked to Shawn Ashley of eCapitol about the final maneuvering this week at the Capitol. Shawn, some new bills resulted from the storms this week.
That's exactly right. We saw a couple of measures introduced in the legislature this week, language we had never seen before. The most important probably is Senate Bill 249, which provides $45 million to the State Emergency Fund. That money can be used to match federal funds, which will come into the state as a result of the recent disasters. And it can also be used by state agencies as well as local governments to help defray some of their costs. You had a number of state agencies down in these areas, the Highway Patrol, the Military Department, the Department of Transportation, all who have racked up cost over time, and it can help defray some of that in addition to helping provide the federal funding that's needed. The other bill will help individuals in the state. Senate Bill 330 provides some tax breaks for those who were affected by the tornadoes. If you're replacing a car, you won't have to pay a full car tag cost. It will also give you a break on your ad valorem taxes and a tax deduction there. And it also helps businesses that donated to the relief effort. Normally, donated goods have to have sales tax paid on them. That will not be the case. So those businesses that have been wonderfully supportive of the relief efforts will get a break as well.
There was some discussion about whether the money from the rainy day fund is going to be enough.
That's exactly right. And in discussing that, what they said is when we come back next year, if it was not enough, we can put more money in. So they will be watching that over the interim into the next legislative session, and if necessary, there's more money in that emergency portion of the rainy day fund that they could tap.
Earlier in the week, the House took up some Senate bills, including one involving Black Friday sales.
That's exactly right. This has been debated throughout the legislative session. And originally, this bill would have eliminated what's called the Unfair Sales Act in the state of Oklahoma, which requires retailers to mark up goods a certain amount. It was heavily contested, and the final version is simply aimed at sales like Black Friday, like Memorial Day weekend sales, and allows retailers to sell goods at or below their actual cost rather than having to mark them up. So people will no longer have to leave the state of Oklahoma to get those really good deals, say on a television set, which could be cheaper in Joplin, Missouri than it was in Claremore or Miami, Oklahoma.
The House also passed a bill that would allocate funds to a drought relief fund.
That's right. It seems like we have a lot of natural disaster legislation taking place, and I guess that's sort of a fact of life in Oklahoma. The drought of the last couple of years have left farmers across the state and local communities in need of various types of funding. And the legislature passed a bill and is funding a fund that would make money available through the Conservation Commission, the Agriculture Department, and the Oklahoma Water Resources Board.
The House also approved a bill that would let foster parents deduct some costs from their taxes. Tell us about that.
That's exactly right. For a number of years in Oklahoma, we've had a tax credit for those involved in adoption. However, we've never had a tax credit for those who are foster parents. This would allow foster parents to deduct up to $2,500 from their state income tax for providing foster care.
How do you think this session will be remembered?
I think it will be remembered for a number of different things. The quick response this week to the disasters in Moore, Shawnee, and Kearney, for example, with the emergency funding and the tax credit bill. I think it will also be remembered for a lot of the other work that they did as well. The tax cut, efforts to repair the state capitol, as well as the workers' comp bill. It will also be remembered for what they didn't do, too. In the last couple of weeks, for example, we've talked about efforts to fund the Native American Center and the Oklahoma Pops Museum over in Tulsa, which did not get accomplished. And there were a number of other issues like that that just didn't come to fruition in the end. So you've got the good, you've got the bad, and ultimately it's up to the legislature and the governor to give themselves a grade.
Shawn Ashley from eCapitol, thank you.
You're very welcome.